We're looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq. Welcome to my daily review. Today is Monday, January 13th, and 2025 so far has been a bummer for the Nasdaq, and especially for us swing traders, momentum traders. The momentum has been lost on the Nasdaq here. I just wanted to point out, when the Nasdaq, I think I put this on my video on Saturday. If you go back to the end of the bear market in October 13th of 2022, every time the Nasdaq has come down to visit the 50, it undercuts it every time, and it did it again this time. Now we don't know if we're going to have a the type of correction that is going to be like this, three legs down type of thing, two and a half, or what? We don't know. But this is one leg down. Certainly, you could say this is two legs down, and you had a double bottom there, and now you make another low. Today, I got to go to the 5-minute chart here. You could see it gap lower, and then probably some short covering during the day as the shorts have had their way here. So Nasdaq has corrected 9% from the peak of 20,204 on December 16th to the trough today, which it hit. It was below 19. Let's get the actual price here, Marty. 18,831. So that's a pretty decent correction, right, on the Nasdaq. Now, the market stretches to the upside, like a rubber band, and then it snaps back to the downside. And I think right now, got stretched to the upside. I think we're a little stretched to the downside, and we're due for that little snapback rally. Will it rally back through the 50? Who knows? But I think we're due for some kind of counter trend type of rally here. The Nasdaq fell only 74 points today, 0.38%, closed at 19,088. The volume was a little bit above the average. No, what am I doing here? That's way low, isn't it? Oh, okay, really light volume. I don't know. Market surge kind of messed up there. Let's go here and see if we can get a more accurate reading of the QQQs here, which is not quite the NASDAQ 100. Anyway, yeah, volume was 3% above average volume. You know, you could call this maybe a pink rally day as it closed 93% above the daily range. Excuse me, 93% of the daily range. So it made that low of 499.70, got below 500, closed at 505. Anyway, we got some inflation data coming up. I like the fact that the market's selling off ahead of these earnings from the tech companies. I got to go to the SPY because the SPY, the power trend ended as the 21 crossed below the 50. I mean, I think most of us are kind of all cash or, 10 or 20% invested in the market, just in a few names here that are hanging on. But yeah, this is definitely a nice correction here. Now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it was the star of the day. It was up 358 points. I'm going to get to that in a minute because there was some definite standouts today in the Dow Jones. And here's the IWM trying to bottom out here. This is up 0.19%. It's better than being down. But going back to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the big winners today here were the healthcare group, of course, the oil and gas group, the Chevron, Exxon names. But you can see United Health made that bottom there in December, I think around the time where the CEO was murdered or assassinated. I forget the date there, but definitely has rebounded since that event. Amgen is one that is up. The JP Morgan Healthcare Conference is going on. A lot of news coming out in the big pharma, biotech names, some companies being bought. We're going to see more of that, I believe, and I'll have more on that later. But Amgen was one of the big winners. And of course, in the industrials, Caterpillar had a nice day today too, up 3.28%. But it was mostly a day, for oil and gas, some of the healthcare, some of the industrials and materials. And, that's not my cup of tea. That's, as a swing trader, those are kind of like the slower growth, value, kind of a safer haven type of play. So anyway, we don't give up. We keep looking around, digging around, curating our watch list. And I'm going to go through some of the Batman stocks. I think Broadcom, certainly one that should be on your watch list here. Pull back to its 21. Found support. I wouldn't say it bounced, but it found support here, which is a good sign. After the gap higher, you could say, a lot of people say it's a high type flag. It's a flag. Yeah, no doubt about it. Supported 21. That looks pretty darn good to me. Apple, once again, another report coming out saying the sales, in China were bad and that Huawei was taking market share from them. Might be true, might not. Just got to wait and see what they say. Below the 50, it sliced the 50 on Friday. It looks kind of like the index as it closed. Near the high today. Apple really mirrors the index for sure, or the index mirrors Apple. Yeah, 95% of the daily range. And okay, so anyway, got to go to Tesla. Tesla was one of the stronger Batman names today, up 2%. Pulled back, they didn't quite reach the 50 here, but now it's facing a little bit of resistance with the 21 and the 10 um, up a little bit after hours. We just have to wait and see. Like I say, we got that some inflation data coming in on Monday and Tuesday, and the earnings are coming up here, so you just gotta wait. We got Netflix next week. A lot of these, Taiwan Semiconductor, I believe, on Thursday, and then the big Batman stocks come in, the end of the month here. So just gotta hold your horses, sit back, relax, just observe. You got to be able to sit out and observe, have some sit out power. Microsoft, ugh, I can't even look at this chart. Ugh, below everything, just consolidating in no man's land. Meta, where is it? Okay, not too bad today. 608 at close, not bad. It just came back to that old pivot, hanging around the 21. Meta actually looks pretty good, in comparison. A lot of stocks are below their 50 now. Amazon is not. It's below the 21, in between the 21 and the 50, once again in no man's land. Can't get excited about that one either. Google, at least they're mitigating the damage, ahead of their earnings reports. Google here pulled back to the 21 there, just kind of a hanging out, trying to find support there, hanging on to the 21 like a cat hanging onto the shelf, right? By its claws. And then NVIDIA, everybody talks about NVIDIA, and it's just, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Below the 50, super weak. 130 seems to be an area of support. Um, has been, doesn't mean it's going to be, but when 132, 131, right around that area. Today it pulled back to that area again. What was the low? 129.51. So yeah, seems like an area of support, but NVIDIA can't get out of its own way. Anyway, I'm going to go to a couple more of these semiconductor names. I talked about AMD, that I think that maybe that 115, 116, 117 area could be an area of support. Today, the low was what? 114. On Fridays, 114. Yeah, just retesting that low there. AMD, I don't know. I still think I think it's a good, how shall I say, risk reward play here. It might be, you know, it could be like 5 to 10 to the downside and maybe 40 to 50 to the upside. So we'll take that every time. I think that's a good risk reward anyway. I could be wrong. ALAB, another one of these semiconductor fabless names that had been rip roaring. Now it's below its 21. Good momentum stock to trade, and now that trades off just below its 21 and not finding support there. It had been finding support for a long, long time, and that pattern broke. So for me, if the pattern breaks, you got to get out and let it settle. MRVL, another one that had a decent day today, hanging in there. It was positive on the session. Just pull back to its 21. Looks, a little bit like Broadcom there, where it's finding support at that moving average. And then ARM had news. I forget the news. It doesn't matter. I just look at the charts and just pulling back to moving averages. Pretty tough, pretty tough market here for swing traders, momentum traders right now, but things can change quickly. They can change, in a snap, a flip of the switch, a snap of the fingers. Yeah. So just stay vigilant and don't get discouraged. Gotta go to some of the software names. Palantir has been really struggling below the 50 today, it sliced its 50, and then after hours, it got a downgrade, to add insult to injury here. It's still up slightly, but I forget. I think Jeffries downgraded after hours and gave it like a $28 price target. App 11, another one of these, just a fantastic trade, pulled back, finding support at 21, then now pull back to the 50. So it's the first time it's pulled back to the 50 since the breakout. We'll see how it responds here. I got to admit, today I thought it was going to go below 300, and it just got down to that level at the open and found some buyers into the close. So App 11 just trying to hang on. They don't report until the 12th of next month. So got some time there. Another name that I like, but it's kind of flagging here, pulling back, still above the 21. So, it's CYBR. That's a cybersecurity play. And then KD, which has been super strong now, pulls back to the 10. So just a lot of weakness in the market. It's really hard to get anything going on the long side. All right, I mentioned the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, and we saw Johnson and Johnson took out ITCI. I don't know if it was last night, but you could see the move last week with volume. It was up on Friday, 15% with massive volume there. So somebody knew something, right? 528% above the average daily volume today. 34% move with 5,000% above average daily volume. I think the buyout price was 132. And I don't know, somebody was saying that there might be other suitors, but they always like to say that. But this is a good sign that we're seeing some M&A action here. Viking, the VKTX, if I could put it in there correctly. They're actually presenting right now after hours at the JP Morgan conference. Not saying anything that's moving the stock at all. And then TGTX, they're going to have a conference tonight. I think it's 4:30 on the Pacific Coast and 7:30 on the East Coast if you want to tune into that. See if Michael Weiss has something to say that's positive. Just a couple other names. Lantheus bought a company today. I forget the name of the company. I think it was a private company. Definitely didn't help the stock. Just, yeah, Lantheus needs help. NTRA, they raised guidance this morning. And I had this on the ready list for the last couple of weeks. I like that 175.63, but this is just not a market for, growth stocks. And all a company can do is execute and deliver good numbers. And this thing sold off 3% on good news. So that's a bad sign. When good news is bad news, that's a bad sign. Anyway, anything else? Well, I got to show TMDX. They presented today at the JP Morgan conference. Did not inspire any confidence, down 7%. There was a short report last week, I believe, and there might be some validity to that short. Anyway, you could see it sold off and then pulled up to its 50 and then sold off, found resistance there as it tried to rise above its 50, found resistance and has sold off the last three sessions on volume. All right, let's move on to, well, since I'm showing this, I got to show the XBI. I think the XBI is about done here as far as selling off. I don't know how much lower this thing can go. Today it was down to 86, close at 89. I think this conference is going to have some news, and we have yeah, we had some buying into the close. We have a Lena Khan, Dr. No is going to be removed here and replaced, and I think there's going to be more confidence in some M&A activity, not only in biotech but in other areas as well, because they have much better opportunity to have a successful deal than be rejected. Anyway, nobody wants to be rejected. All right, I'm going to move on to the energy names, just because they're selling off or whatever, not going anywhere, that doesn't mean that the like the AI theme is still there, the weight loss drug theme, the data center theme, the energy theme, all these themes are still intact. It's just they're not going to go up every day or every week. This is Vistra, and to me, this is like a nice move today, because it had an inside day, you could see, pulled back to the 10, found support, closed at 70% of its daily range. This is one that I bought on Friday, and now I'm still holding it, but actually I added to it on Friday. So it's a full position for me. And in a market where, I'm only, you know, 20 to 30% invested, this is one of my bigger holdings here. Anyway, I think it acted well. It acted fine. GEV, same thing, another leader in this group. Just pulled back to a moving average today. This is acting fine. This at 357.09. Buy point closed today at 100% of the daily range. So that looks pretty good for the longs in GEV. And maybe we'll get a little rally going here. They have earnings due on the 22nd, which is what? Next Wednesday. Okay. I could do the math in my head. How about that? And then CEG had a bunch of news last week. Ran up a bunch, so you got to expect some profit taking. It's still there right there at that 288.75 buy point. You thought last week it was gone at 310, right? But it's pulled back, to 279, giving you another chance here. Don't like the fact that it closed at 2% of its daily range. But, you got to expect profit taking when you go from, 219 to 310 in a very short period of time. I mean, that is straight up off the bottom. So, maybe it'll fill that gap there and give us a chance to get in. 267. It's not far from there at all. All right. And then TLN is another one that I like in this group. Yeah, this one's holding up fine. VRT is another one. Slice it's 50 today. Blech. All right. Down 3 point something percent. But just you can see just consolidating in a base. Like I say, ahead of earnings, you got to expect some cautious. I'm happy or I'm glad or it's not that I have any control over it, but it's good to see these stocks taking a break, taking a breather, selling off ahead of their earnings. And then I think with some upside surprises, we're going to get some, I know we're going to get some stocks. They're going to gap and go after earnings this quarter. We just don't know which ones exactly, but I have a feeling that, there are going to be a couple here. This is the retail sales group, super strong. We know that the Christmas sales were strong. LULU raised guidance today, but it didn't do much for the stock, just like NTRA. I mean, they're just in the mode for selling right now. So kind of like no matter what they say, not going anywhere. Abercrombie and Fitch, I think there's they raised guidance, but I think there's a problem with the tariffs here. Anything made in China coming over is going to be hit with heavy tariffs. And I think that's going to bother some of these companies. AS is another one relying on China growth. This is an IPO. Broke out, ran up, traded down to its 21 today, so not good look there. ELF was upgraded today, our little ELF, and the CEO did say that if tariffs are imposed, he's going to pass on the cost to the consumers, but it got an upgrade today and bounced off the 50, so ELF's looking a little better here. What else do I have? Oh yeah, the egg trade, VITL. VITL Farms out of Austin, Texas, now breaking out of this double bottom base here today. What was the daily range? 50%, 49%, not bad. 3.7% move. Cal Maine reported last week, I believe, or the week before. I don't know, ran up to 114, pulled back to the 21, found support. So that one's acting pretty well too. I mean, anything above 2.5% above the 10 in this tape is a really strong stock. I'm just going to do a random walk through some stocks that I was looking at today that I'm intrigued with. I don't own, but I might. And one of them is Carpenter Technology from the Steel Specialty Alloys. This is one of the big winners from 2024 and sold off a little bit at the end of the this December, but January has hit the ground running and nice day today. Up 3.84% with 91% closing range there. So that's a good move for a Carpenter. ARIS is pollution control stock. Looks like it's breaking above, downtrending a line, pulled back, undercut the 50 and rallied. So 10% move for ARIS. So we like that. And then NBIS is another one. Yeah, bouncing off the 21 Friday and following through today, 7 point something percent. So that one looks good as well. HQY. Why did I write down HQY? Oh, okay. Setting up in the base here. That looks pretty good. Commercial services outsourcing. So just a little random walk through some stocks that are doing okay. But I think I put 7 or 8 stocks on my Reddit list, and half of them are oil and gas stocks because that's the strength right now. It's almost like the 2022 bear market when everything was selling off. And the only game in town was oil and gas, and it's kind of that way right now. And it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Heck, they're pretty much all going up. That's EQT, especially if they have exposure to natural gas. This is Williams. You can see this is just an inside day today, bouncing off its moving averages, up a percent. You're going to take that when the Nasdaq's puking up its guts. AROC, ARCHROC, yeah, nice move off of it. So you can see it undercut the moving averages, got back above it, pulled back here, and then bounced off the 21, 3.5% move today for ARCHROC. AM, Antero Midstream, yeah, just setting up in a base here, bouncing off moving average up 2.2%. Some of these don't look very good, but they're rebounding. This is Devon at $30, made its low, and now it's rebounding. It's back above 36. So I'm just pointing this out. I'm not saying they're, set up to buy, but these are showing strength after a long, long time of selling off. This is Occidental. Warren Buffett's just been buying the heck out of this thing. And yeah, you can see it's been big pain for a long time. But for him, a swing trade is 10 years. So I think he's going to hold that one for a while. Matador, another oil and gas exploration stock, up more than 1%. Heck, I'll take 1%. In this trash tape, CIVI, anything with the resources is up, right? Which reminds me, RRC, it's got to be up, right? Yep. 1% range resources broke out of that cup with handle pattern last week. So these oil and gas stocks are KNTK. I mean, I don't want to make fun of it, but yeah, this thing looks pretty darn good to me. A nice symmetrical, cup shape pattern, kind of tame, mild, quiet. I like that type of a base there. So this one's going to remain on my ready list. You could say that it already like broke out of like a downtrend line like right here on this day. And then it got a little quiet here, and now it's starting to move, building the right side of its base. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Hopefully tomorrow or later on in the week or next week things will get a little better. What you don't want to do in the first couple weeks of January is like, get down 10, 20% because then you're digging yourself a big hole trying to make these trades. So, trade small, trade fast. If you take a loss, you got to take a loss. But take a small loss, don't take a big loss. And that's how you stay in the game for a long time. Um, all right. Like I said, that's it for me. Except for in honor of the great Steve Jobs, I do have one more thing. That is, we have some earnings tonight, not market moving earnings, but stock moving earnings. And this is a AEHR down, over 11% after hours. Today it pulled back to its 21. Looks like it's going to slice it tomorrow. We have to wait and see. This thing volatile though. It could go down 15% and then rise up 30%. I haven't heard haven't read the press release or listened to the conference call at all, but obviously the initial move is not good for the shareholders at the AEHR. This is KB Homes. Did not see this report either, but it's up nearly 8%, which is a nice move. I would think that the home builders, the higher rates are kind of like priced in, and a lot of damage has been done here. I still think, there's huge demand for home building. I just don't see how much lower these things are going to go. Let's take a look around at some of these other ones here. Pulte, after hours as well. And then, excuse me, that's DR Horton. And then Pulte, yeah, up as well. So maybe this is kind of like a bottoming pattern here for those home builders. And then Titan. This is a recent IPO, real recent IPO. It's been kind of trading around that 100 level. They reported tonight. Like I said, I didn't read the press release, but I will. I'll have more on these in the morning. Computer Tech Services name, yeah, just flat after hours. It's just hovering around that 100, trying to form a little base here between 100 and 110. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. Don't force trades. Have a little sit out power. The market's testing you. Do you have the discipline to wait for your fat pitch? or you're going to sit there and just, drool all over yourself and be a degenerate and try to trade, 10, 15 trades a day and get chopped up. Don't do that. That's a good way to lose money. Anyway, at mcstockcharts.com, we never give up, like ever. Never.